All right. The question is, we believe in coming out, but we are differing scripturally on who exactly Mystery Babylon is. There's ample evidence or facts that the Vatican being Babylon, that being what we need to separate from, say, some say it's California, some say it's a spiritual Babylon. So how do we scripturally justify that it's one and not others? That's it. It's a great question. I've actually done a more extensive video. First off, there's no way it's scripturally because it's named in Revelations 18, peoples, tongues, nations. So it's a body of quote unquote nations at a minimum. So it's not spiritually. Secondly, the Vatican is absolutely involved, but you're talking about two elements within Revelations. 18, one of which, and 17, one of which is the beast, and one of which is the whore, Babylon. And so when you're looking at the structure of this nation, meaning there's America, and there's a lot of people out there that will claim America as the whore, and I'm going to totally beg to differ. You have America, and then you have the United States. America is simply God-fearing people. Now, listen to me very carefully. I'm not speaking of what you would know as known as the United States. So I'm speaking of what was formed here in this nation. America, people that don't have contracts to the United States corporation, are not surety debtors to the U.S. corporation. America are state citizens. Americans are saying, God, you're king, and we are self-governed. Americans and state citizenship law is basically the commandments, if you look at the Republic. And so when you look at the United States, it's separate than America. It's separate than the United States of America. When you look at the United States Corporation, there's so many interesting parallels on this, and I love discussing this and we really should have an open form of spiritual leadership on this topic. So when I say coming out, I'm not at all talking about whether or not you're saved. I'm speaking about whether or not you're free, whether or not you're surety. And so we don't differ in so much that the whore currently is working with the Vatican, meaning the United States corporation is absolutely intertwined with that tentacle structure of the Vatican, but it's deeper than the Vatican. It's really the structure behind the Vatican. So I don't want to blame Catholics, but I do want you to realize that the United States corporation is absolutely ran by Luciferian structures, powers, and influences. And the Vatican is absolutely ran by Luciferian structures, powers, and influences, all the way to the Pope. This is my personal opinion. And I've talked to my mom, who is a staunch Catholic, about this, and she agrees, actually, that this current Pope is bad. So when you're looking at the beast and you're looking at the whore, meaning the whore Babylon, there's two entities. And the beast actually gets pissed off at the whore. And without going too in depth to scriptures, you're talking about two separate things. And so the beast system, or that beast structure, is an overlay of tentacles, whether the church or whether the powers to be behind the church. It's said that anytime that there's been, between the Russian equivalent of the CIA, the Israeli equivalent of the CIA, there's literally been communications that I have read that go all the way back about 60 or 70 years, showing that, whether you want to believe it or not, these are writings from George Washington himself about the Illuminati have been infiltrating the Mason lodges for several years, and he put it in his own handwriting. So the Illuminati would and has infiltrated every element of government and church across the world. And So what we're seeing right now is the results of a change of leadership within these structures that is pressing leaders all across the world. And how they get these leaders is sexual immorality, video, children, and I don't want to get into all the subversive, nasty sin that is going on within the leadership around the world. But the whore, meaning the United States corporation, its tentacles are worldwide. It sits on every ocean. It is the only nation, quote unquote, corporate nation that is it has a embassy in every station around the world. It's the one that is the enforcement arm. There's the Vatican district, there's the Crown district, and then there's the United States District of Columbia. And they actually have the same flag. And the one represents the financial power, the one represents the enforcement, which has ran its tentacles across the world, given everybody a social security number, given everybody a birth certificate around the world, and tied it all to the New York Stock Exchange, which is known as the international city, the international capital of the world. And I can go on and on and on, but I think we're talking apples and apples. We're not talking, hey, the Vatican is not the whore, it's the beast. It doesn't really matter. It's if you put it all up on a chart and you put it up on a whiteboard, I guarantee we would be talking about the same things. Just maybe I'm giving you a different way to look at it. You got a structural system known as the beast system with its tentacles in the United States corporation. This last president was ripping apart all the tentacles away from those entities, defunding those entities, not supporting those entities, and that's where the beast gets pissed off at the whore in the scripture, in my opinion. Could be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. But there's no other entity that matches up to the whore like the United States corporation. None. And I did a video. I could find it and post it to when we send out an email from Tracy so you can watch it. But I did a video explaining the exact background and why and my reasonings. And scripturally, there's no other way, excuse me, to look at it. Not saying I'm 100% right, but there's no other way to look at it because there's only one corporation nation that is making everybody surety in the whole world. Only one. That's the United States. There's only one entity that is the collection arm for everybody in the world. That's the IRS through the IMF through the United States. There's only one entity that sits on all the waters of the world. That's the United States. And I can go on and on and on with all the biblical things that the United States corporation supports. Now, that's a company masquerading as a corporation. So, masquerading as a country, but it's a corporation. And in this nation, you can find it in the Federal Rules of Regulation. It explains the name of our country, both de jure and de facto. It shows you that the United States is a federal corporation. It shows you the exclusive jurisdiction of the United States. Excuse me, I just had baking soda and water because I had acid reflux. So what you're seeing is the after effect. Dr. Val, don't laugh. That's just, it is what it is, you know. So you're looking at the United States and you're looking at America, and it's all written out in public law. But when you go and look in public law at the Federal Rules of Regulation, what you end up seeing is a lot of stuff that says reserved. That's because they don't want you to see what they've written explaining de jure and de facto. Like, I'm having a bad moment. Hold on. That is so funny. I go for water because I need help, and it goes down the wrong pipe. Oh, God, look at my eyes. I'm tearing up. I'm human. Oh, now it's got me talking. All right, so cracking up here. All right, so I love this question. I'm just saying there's nothing else on the face of the earth that matches it. But the greatest thing that God allowed, just look at it this way. He allowed everybody from around the world, the dregs of the world, all the criminals, all the good people that wanted out of tyranny to come here. The 12 tribes. Think about that one. And form the first time ever self-governance, like being a king. The sovereignty of the king passed to the state. That's a Supreme Court ruling. The state is not Alaska, Wyoming, Virginia, New York. The state is a person, a man or a woman. The people are self-governed. So we're the first time ever in history to get that position of kingship under a king, that position of being a son of a king under a king in law here on our land. They had to think of something immediately. So immediately they formed a corporation. And they had to get people to step out of those seats, and they got them done within 71 years. And where they vacated the republic in 1861, basically went into a form of war, where the states left because they lost their state rights. And it's not about black people. It's, I know you want to believe that, and you think the 14th Amendment gave citizenship and freedom to everybody, and it really didn't. Made everybody sub-corporate citizens, and they spent the next 50 years turning it into a demonic fest and turning everybody into surety and collateral against the debt, stealing the wealth of the nation, the gold, the silver, turning the banks from a government structure to a private structure called the Federal Reserve. I mean, they did it. And then they went around the world doing the same thing. Birth certificating everybody, naturalizing everybody, helping everybody to become surety and collateral for the corporations. They stole the mineral wealth, then they took the people. There's only one nation doing that, the United States Corporation. None other, the whore. So when you look at Revelation specifically, and I could share my screen, but I already did all this before, you would absolutely be amazed, because nothing else fits the whore. However, the beast does fit the Vatican. So there's my 2 cents in between coughs.